Hello, folks, and welcome to Author Adjacent, a show about the journey from hobbyist writer to professional author. I'm your host, Michael Vadney, and today we've got more SPFBO 11 news to cover. We over at Team FanFiAddict have announced our second round of cuts and our second semifinalist. Last time we talked about our first batch and celebrated our first semifinalist, Shadows of the Sunderlands by Corbin Rook. Today we got 5 more cuts and another book advancing. Same reminder as last time, a cut in SPFBO doesn't mean a book isn't worth your time. SPFBO judges need to take 300 books and narrow it down to 1. This means that there's going to be a lot of good reads that are going to fall to the wayside. So stick around and I'll point you toward who each of these books might be really good for. Let's get into it. Today's first cut is Blackwater, Blackheart by Seth Hobbs, and this one swings big. We're talking flintlock fantasy, blending war, religion, political intrigue, and even touches of horror and sci-fi. Gritty, morally gray characters, multiple POVs. This is a book with serious ambition and scope, and there are some genuinely intriguing storylines throughout this book. And the mix of religious and political tension gives the world building a lot of texture. It's fast-paced and bloody when it wants to be. But where the team struggled is mostly in the first half of this book. With so many characters and perspectives introduced early on, it was hard to find a foothold and connect to the story. The pacing in these opening chapters leans heavily on exposition and extended dialogue, which really slowed things down before the story could really gain any momentum. Who is this for? If you are a fan of the Powder Mage trilogy or the Black Company, complex, multi-POV, military fantasy with like a dark edge, this is absolutely one to check out for you. Readers who love big, lore-heavy epics and don't mind a dense setup will find a lot to dig into here. For the next cut, we have Children of Nemia by Michael Go. This is a coming-of-age fantasy following 15-year-old Vaughn as he searches for belonging, respect, and identity within his tribe. It's heartfelt, sincere, and grounded in relatable emotional stakes. We praise the world building on this one as there is a rich setting built around tribal culture, myth, and looming conflict. The supporting cast is a real highlight as well, especially Simon of the Mists and Shale, who bring a lot of energy and personality to the story. And the themes at the heart of it all, growth, forgiveness, hope, give it a warmth that really comes through. The challenges, once again, were mostly around the pacing. The early sections are slow, exposition heavy, and the story has a tendency to linger on the quieter moments while rushing through some of the bigger, more impactful events. Vaughn is a solid emotional anchor, but his motivations can feel unclear at times. Who is this for? Young adult fantasy fans. This one is calling your name. If you enjoy coming-of-age stories with imaginative world building and a genuine heart, Children of Nemia is worth picking up. Cut number 3 is The Way We Were Hunters by Brienne Feathers. And honestly, this one was fascinating. It's a dark, character-driven fantasy set in a world in the aftermath of an otherworldly catastrophe with a deep, Cold War-inspired world building. That's the premise that immediately had our attention. The team was impressed with the prose. They were sharp and evocative. And the protagonist, Lena, feels deeply human. Her relationship with Captain Arkamov is complex and tension-filled, and it drives a lot of the plot in a compelling way. There is an interesting balance between the emotional depth, the action, and the romance to make this whole thing gripping and memorable. Where the team found issue is mainly in the first half of the book. The main character felt a bit immature for the seriousness of the setting, which created this contrast that didn't quite work for everyone on the team. Some plot beats also felt compressed. The book itself is split into 2 parts, and while the second half finds its footing with stronger characters and deeper world building, that slower start made for a tough sell in a competition where first impressions often carry a lot of weight. Who is this for? If you enjoy darker fantasy with a romantic edge, strong character work, unique world building, put this one on your list. Fans of character-driven military fantasy with real emotional stakes will find a lot to love. Alright, I need to talk about this next one, because the premise alone made us smile. The Dragoners of Longorn and Pemberley by Chloe Hensley is essentially Pride and Prejudice meets Bridgerton, but with dragon riders. That's right, you heard that correctly, with dragon riders. And it's not a paint-by-numbers retelling. There is some original twist in this story that really keep it fresh, and the characters really do grow on you. There is a dragon named Lalentos, who is declared the real MVP of the book, which was absolutely delightful. The main note was that because it is a retelling, readers familiar with Austen could see certain plot points coming, which reduced much of the tension. But as a cozy, feel-good fantasy, it absolutely lands. Who is this for? This one has a very clear audience. If you love Jane Austen, Julia Quinn, cozy fantasy, and the idea of adding dragon riders to that mix just puts a smile on your face, run. Do not walk to get this book. It's a great comfort read. Our last cut of the day is Secrets of Earthis by K.D. Lumsden. This is a longer fantasy set in a world where metal holds raw power. One judge noted that the magic system gave very strong Mistborn vibes, which initially pulled them deeper into the story. The world building is the real strength here, and the language and the editing are very solid. Where it didn't come together for us was mainly in the characters and in the narration. Erwin, the main character, fell a little flat for our team. Despite living this hard life in the mines, the narration didn't always deliver on the weight of that hardship. The shift between first-person and third-person POV was also jarring at times. And without a character that we could feel fully connected to, it was difficult to push deeper into the story. But who is this story for? If you are a Sanderson fan, you love hard magic systems and gritty working-class setting, the world building here might scratch that itch. Now, the moment you've been waiting for. Team FanFiAddict's second semifinalist is Blackwater by Emily Blakeney. And folks, the judges did not hold back on this one. Both reviews were glowing. One called it exactly the kind of gem they hoped to find in a competition setting. The other said that they were immediately hooked by the visceral opening scene and stayed hooked all the way through. So what makes Blackwater special? It's a romantic dark fantasy, but the key distinction here is that it is a fantasy-first story. The romance enhances the narrative rather than becoming the whole narrative. And the balance was handled very well. The fantasy plot has real depth, and the character work is fantastic. And the banter between characters is a standout as well. Multiple judges mentioned being genuinely surprised by the plot twists. They didn't see them coming, which is always a great sign. One judge said that they were absolutely obsessed by the end and wished that the sequel was already out so that they could immediately jump to it. The slow burn romance worked even for our judges who don't tend to go for that kind of thing, because it felt organic to the characters, who they are, and what their histories were. So congratulations to Emily Blakeney. Blackwater moves forward as Team FanFiAddict's second semifinalist, along with Shadows of the Sundered Lands. And that's going to wrap it up for round 2 of Team FanFiAddict. 2 semifinalists chosen, more cuts made, and honestly, some really interesting books. Every single one of these has an audience, so please, go back, find the ones that sounded interesting to you, and give them a shot. I'll be back with more SPFBO 11 updates as our team releases them. Until next time, let's be author adjacent together.